Hello and welcome to another episode of Tribunal of the Grid, where we talk about all things Power Rangers, including the actors that play them. My name is Brandon.
I am Lena.
I'm Will.
And today we are coming at you with yet another interview. I'm pretty sure y'all are like, good grief, how many interviews are y'all gonna give us? As many as we feel like it. But no, seriously. But no, we are definitely, this is what we do. We love coming at you with a whole bunch of interviews from the stellar cast members. And we have one joining us today. She is one of the cast members of Power Rangers Dino Charge, who originally started out as their tech advisor, but actually ended up becoming a ranger herself. Please give it up for Claire Blackwelder.
Hi.
Hey, Claire, how is it going?
I'm doing well. I'm just trucking along here in my mountain isolation. How are you guys?
Wow.
We're so glad that you could join us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, it's always good to have, good to be able to have and speak with members of the cast, and and just get your opinions and get your experiences from the show. We just love to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and get right on into it. So, tell me, what kind of child were you growing up in Boise, Idaho? I mean, that's when you think of Idaho, it's like, what?
Well, I was born in Idaho, and that's where I am right now. But I actually spent most of my childhood growing up right outside D.C. in Maryland.
Okay.
And yeah, we moved around a lot before I was 5, and but we settled there for most of my childhood. And I was a huge nerd. I read a lot of books. I climbed a lot of trees, and I was always really into performing. Would write little shows for my two sisters and me to do whenever we had guests over and stuff like that. Played classical piano, just really everything that you would associate with a bookish child. And then add to the fact that I had a lot of energy. So yeah, that was most of it, really. Was allowed to watch TV, so that was I didn't really get into any of the common series that if my friends make references to things they were watching when they were growing up, I was always like, what was that? But
so I noticed that you were born right around the time Power Rangers kicked off. Did you ever watch it when you were a kid?
So yeah, the first episode aired I think 2 days after I was born or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So my mom always likes to joke that her timing was impeccable. But I didn't really watch it growing up, to be honest.
Okay.
We didn't really have the TV on much, if at all, when I was growing up. It just wasn't really something that was common in our household. My parents would chuck on the 6 o'clock news every night, but if I ever tried to turn on the TV, my mom was like, what are you doing? So I didn't really watch it growing up. The first time I ever actually saw it was when I got the audition. And I was
wow.
I better go and look this up, because to be quite honest, I didn't know that it still existed. So I had to go and do my research, and I was like, my goodness, it's not only does it still exist, but it's in full force. It's it's gotten stronger as the years have gone on. So very interesting.
Wow. So taking it back a little bit. So growing up, did you always want to be an actress, or how did you fall into it?
I did. So it started with my mom, I would have to say. My mom is an actress, and she's very, very talented. She got her master's in acting when I was 9 years old, in classical acting. So, 9 years old, watching her play all these crazy, strong Shakespearean women. It was amazing. She, I got to see her play Titania and Helena in Midsummer Night's Dream, at the Shakespeare Theater of DC, which was amazing. and saw her do this
Come
one
on, Mom.
show of Zelda when I was like 4, maybe.
Okay.
And Zelda, Zelda's Fitzgerald is F. Scott Fitzgerald's wife, so there's this one show about her, and she had a lot of very interesting adventures. So she's a very interesting character to examine. She has a lot of like mental health concerns, or had rather. So it's a fascinating place. I mean, I saw my mom do all this like wild stuff growing up, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. And yeah, so I mean, I think that's probably where the seed was planted. And I just did like every school play growing up and loved performing. And it just I just kind of decided that's what I wanted to do when I was very young, and I refused to relinquish my grasp on that idea. So
That's amazing.
Wow. So I'm now very intrigued now. So when you started doing all this acting and stuff when you were a kid and stuff, do you remember what like your first play was? Like your first ever?
Yeah, so I did a bunch of like little things like holiday kid shows when I was like 4, for like my Montessori school I went to was like, okay, here are a bunch of kids in a line on stage like singing a song. But my first actual play I think was first grade. We did the Wizard of Oz, and I was Toto.
Oh my gosh.
Since I was like 6, they didn't really trust like a first grader to handle being Toto for the entire play. So we split it up into like 3 parts. So there were 3 Totos. And I got to be the Toto that was on stage when I got taken away by the flying monkeys. So that was just quite the experience. Getting like picked up by I thought that it was like, like a huge 5th grader at the time, but it's like a 10-year-old kid scooping me up and carrying me off stage. But that was my first play. So very fun.
That's amazing.
That is super cute. Wow. So now that you know that you're an actress and this is what you really want to do, when you started auditioning for Power Rangers, what was that process like?
It was really funny actually. I only had to do a couple rounds. I've heard people having to do like 5 rounds of auditions or so. I did, I think 2 total, because they brought me in towards the end. But I will never forget. It was like my first or second TV audition ever. I think the first one was for some like non-speaking role on some random show. But aside from that, I'd never auditioned for TV before. And I was like, I got the audition for it, and I called my mom before going inside. I was in my car. I was a junior in college at the time, and I had parked my car and I was on the side of the road, and I called my mom and I just start crying. She's like, what is wrong? I was like, Mom, I have this audition today. It's for Power Rangers, and like they say I have to have an athletic build and abilities and a superhero look, and I don't look like a superhero. I've never been on TV before. I don't know what I'm doing. She's like, well, if they really want you to look like a superhero, they'll train you up to look like a superhero, and you're not going to get the job anyway, so just go in there and have fun. And I was like, all right. So I went in and I get called in, and I remember being in the waiting room and all these girls are sitting around me, like talking about all the guest stars they've had on Disney, and like all this stuff. And I was just sitting there like, what? This girl has like a 6-pack. I was like, oh my God, where am I? What am I doing? And they call me in, and I like didn't know what I was doing. So I had like a 4x6 headshot printed, which is not standard at all. And it was like stapled in one corner. Like I'd printed it out at FedEx like 2 hours beforehand. I did not know what I was doing. Love it. I've done tons of theater, but theater is very, very different.
Yeah, it's very different.
Like I get called in, and they had said, bring 2 copies of your headshot and resume. And I was like, okay, cool. So I brought 2 copies, and they call my name, and he's like, all right, headshot and resume. I hand him over. And he goes, oh, I only need 1. And I'm not kidding. I go, keep it, hang it on your wall. He was like,
oh, wow.
there you go. Hang it on my wall. It's like, cool. And then I went in and acted like an absolute fool. I did the scenes and pulled my phone out of my boot at one point because I figured that'd be like a Power Ranger-y thing to do because I had to check the time and I was like, oh, what time is it? Like, got it. And that was interesting. And then they asked me to do some kicks and I said, any old kicks? And they were like, yeah. So to this day, I have absolutely no idea why they even called me back, but I must have made some kind of strange impression. But that was the first day. And, I don't even, my agent called me and he was like, they want to see you again. I was like, you're sure they said Claire Blackwelder, right? Those are the exact words they said. He's like, yeah. Anyway, the second day was much different. That was like a large group of people and we all got like cycled through many times. They paired us with like, and I'm sure this is probably like the story that you've heard from a lot of people, like, where they kind of like bring in this big group and then like one by one, they kind of like make different groups and they take pictures of you all together and then they shift you in and out and they ask you to come in and do like a physical routine. And then there's just a lot of like waiting around and like rotating. So that was the second day. And, yeah, it was very scary, but it was very fun. I got to meet a ton of people that second day and they were all really cool. So I was kind of like, man, whatever the cast ends up being, like, it's going to be really fun. So it was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
So initially, did you audition for Kendall or was it just a ranger?
It was the very first audition was for either pink or purple. They had said like wear either a pink or purple shirt, and prepare this one scene, and that was just kind of like a general audition. And then when I went in for the second day, they specifically said you're being called back for the Purple Ranger. And so that day they had changed up the sides a little bit and like kind of made it more specific. And they're like, okay, this is the character that's 26 and she's like more professional. So I had a better idea of how to prepare because before I was just kind of like going in cold. So.
Wow. Okay. So the actual character was supposed to be 26.
Yes.
Oh,
Which is hilarious.
see, we never knew that.
Actually,
wow.
I always thought she was older.
Well, yeah,
they call
older,
her
but
Miss.
not
yeah, she's supposed
but
to be
not
older
like,
than the rest
yeah.
of them. But yeah, I mean, when I filmed it, I was 21. I'm 26 now. So that was another reason when I auditioned, I was 20 and I was like, no way, there's no way. I'm too young for this role. But they just put me in a lot of makeup and glasses and made it work.
You could tell they were trying to age you a lot more.
Oh yeah, a whole lot. The blazers, the the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I always noticed, I was like, wait a minute, I know she's supposed to be older, but by how much older is she? It's
yeah.
Okay.
That's
All
it.
right, girl.
There you go.
I'm here for it. So after, you won the part of Kendall and everything, so did you go to New Zealand, the same time that everybody else did, or did you kind of like go at a different time? How did that work?
I did. So we all, Davi came later, of course, because he wasn't, he didn't join the season until like episode 8 or 9, I think. But I went with everybody else. So I was in every episode from the very beginning, but I just didn't become a ranger until the finale of the first season. So I went with everybody else. I did all the fight training for those first few weeks. And it was just very difficult because, I wasn't allowed to tell anybody what was going on. So it was just kind of like, here I am in New Zealand filming the show, but it's all very hush-hush for me anyway. So, but yeah, I was there the whole time.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That sucks. So like, even during like the Power Morphicon reveal, when the Rangers came out and everything, you had to be quiet and not say anything.
Yeah, I actually was there at Power Morphicon. Davi and I were standing in the back of the room when they announced everybody. We were just like standing among fans cheering and like nobody knew who we were. We were just kind of like among the crowd and like really excited. It was a really cool experience, honestly, to be on the other side of it and just get to experience like how much people, really get so stoked about the next season. And I was like, God, I'm going to be part of this. It was really just so special.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. Like it sounds amazing, but at the same time, it's like, dang, you didn't get the experience actually being on stage, in the costume. And
I mean, yeah, that would have been really cool too. it would have been, of course, but I don't know. I like to think that it was just like unprecedented to be able to be in the position that we were in, knowing we were about to do that, and getting to be on the other side of it, and part of, like, you know, you just feel it differently when you're among like the throngs of people, and I don't know, it was really cool.
Got you. Now, of course, speaking of the costume, when you were fitted for it and everything, what was it like actually seeing yourself as the Purple Ranger for the first time?
It was crazy. I mean, of course, what you'll hear from everyone, of course, is it's very tight. It's a very tight costume. It's not comfortable. Aside from that, it was amazing. The first fitting ever, I remember, like, I have a picture of it, and I don't have the gloves on or anything. I just kind of have like all the other stuff, and I'm like doing a thumbs up, and it's just like my weird thumb with like an elastic around it that's like holding on the costume. Very odd, but I was stoked. I took a picture of it, and then I had to squirrel away and hide for like a year and a half. So it was really cool, though. It was awesome. Yeah.
Oh wow! So after, you know, everything is ready and it's all time to go, what was your first day like on set filming?
Oh God, the first day. Okay, so the actual first day on set, I wasn't called to, because just the order that they shoot in, of course, like just the first scene that I was in for the entire episode was not the very first day of shooting. So okay. I wasn't there for the first shot. I think I came the first day, like partway through the day or something, just to be there the first day. And also at the time I was finishing up school. So I had one class left to finish out my college degree. So I was completing it while I was filming. So the way that I did that was Power Rangers was kind of like an internship. I would show up to set and I would take notes and write essays about the experience and kind of like do a production internship, which was really amazing. But so it just meant that I showed up on all the days that I wasn't called and kind of took notes. So it was my nice little excuse to learn a little bit before I actually had to be on set myself. But yeah, that was the first day. And then my first day actually shooting, I cried during the first shot, so that was embarrassing.
Oh.
I was just really nervous. You know, a bunch of like lights and cameras and just a lot of people. It's a large production with like several crews and teams, and you know, it's a lot going on. And the first shot I had to do was like looking down the barrel of the camera and smiling for my like title sequence. And I just was not used to looking directly into a camera, and they filmed them with this big Ari Alexa. It's just like Ari Alexa, like massive camera. It's like, you know, this huge thing, and I was just like, you know, just terrified. And I look at the lens, and I was like, oh my god. You know, very embarrassing. But I like to think that I got a little more used to it as the season went on.
Oh no. Well, I mean, you look like you were having fun, and you look fine, so you played it off.
Let's hope. If you look back at that like title sequence, you'll see like the glisten of a tear. You're like, is she okay? I don't know.
Like, I'm forcing myself to smile. I'm
Exactly.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Exactly. And they're like, let's go. Let's get the shot. And I'm like, you got it.
Oh my goodness. So okay, so you start filming and everything, and now you're all done and everything. Looking back, what are your thoughts on Kendall?
Just like in general, as a person, as a ranger.
Yeah. The whole
I
gamut.
think she's super cool. She's tough, obviously, and when the season first started airing, people had a little bit of trouble with her because she was not super nice to Shelby, and obviously Shelby's a fan favorite. So everyone was like, Kendall, come on, what are you doing?
I was one of them, I'm not gonna lie. I was one of them.
Yeah, but it's for a good reason. I think that she really she wants people to do their best. She wanted the entire team to put their best foot forward and work as hard as they possibly could. And you know, they're all teenagers. Sometimes they don't want to work hard, but she's there to push them. And I think that she had a lot of knowledge that was necessary for every battle, really. I mean, not only did she make the gadgets, but she'd done her research, and she knew Keeper better than the rest of them. So and just the fact that she was 26 years old and running a museum is amazing. So, you know,
right.
She's ambitious, and she's just smart, and sharp. So I think she's really cool. I do wish she had gotten to fight more. That was my one qualm.
Same,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was always kind of a disappointment. Like every time I'd get a new script for the next season, or the next episode, I'd be like, man, stuck in the lab again. But you know, people like her are necessary. So maybe someday Kendall will get out of the lab, fighting those high heels.
No, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, now that's the question I was about to ask you. Like, when you were fighting, were you actually fighting in those boots a lot?
Oh yeah. I mean, okay. That was a whole thing. Like I was like, how do you expect me to do this? But I did it. I fought in those heels. There was actually one day on second unit, which is like there's main unit where we do all the drama, and then second unit is where all the action and the fighting takes place. So on second unit, there was a day that I was supposed to run down a hill in this quarry where we shot a lot, and it was muddy, it was slippery. One of the stunties, I think it was it Kai? I don't know. One of the stunties looks at me, points at my shoes, like my high heels, points at the mud, and then looks at me and says, "Daijoubu," which is like, "Are you okay?" in Japanese. And I was like, yeah. And then sure enough, they call action. I sprint down the hill in my high heels, and I just like launch through the air and face plant. And it was like really bad. After that, they made me some stunt shoes, so I had like flat boots to fight in after that. But it took several months for that to happen.
Oh my God.
I was like, you called it, man, you called it.
Oh my God. So they really expected you to run down a hill in heels.
Yeah. I mean, they were heeled boots, so it's fine.
Oh
right?
my God.
To be fair, like I definitely had many months where I could have spoken up about many things and did not. Like it was my first job. I didn't want to be, I wanted to be agreeable. I didn't want to cause problems. So even if I was a little bit scared about literally anything at all, I was like, it's fine. Everything's fine. So I definitely could have spoken up and been like, listen, man, these are high heels. I don't care if they're boots. They have heels on them. I need stunt shoes. But I was like, okay.
I can understand that.
So in retrospect, I probably should have said something. But now we know, right?
Wow. Right. Well, at least you didn't break twist your ankle or, something like that, because that would have been all bad.
Oh, certainly.
So what was your favorite memory like on set?
My favorite memory, favorite, it's so hard. I mean, probably just the moment oh my God, I know. It was when I had that fight in the Ranger base at the end of the second season when I'm helmetless.
Ooh, okay.
And it was simultaneously so cool and so tragic because the fact that to make that scene happen, we had to like tear apart the base a lot. So there are like pieces of the ceiling and the cave like crumbling in and things are getting thrown about. And it was really cool, but it was just kind of like this very clear image that it was coming to an end because it was one of the last episodes we shot. And to just watch this base like fall apart in front of my eyes, I was like, oh God, this is it, it's happening. So it was really cool and really sad. But yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I got to do this. I mean, I didn't do most of that fighting. Let's be I think it was Masa, one of the stunties who did that fight. Because it wasn't June at that point. It was Masa or Misa. No, Masa. Sorry, there was Misa and there was Masa, but it was Masa that did that one. But yeah, it was a really cool fight. And just to be on set while it was happening was amazing. And being on both the finale of the first season as well, I liked as well. Also being on the ship because we never got to really go on the ship that often. We had that big, extravagant monster ship, and it was mostly just the monsters that were on it. So that whole episode where I get to show up and be there for the whole day and fight in this hazmat suit and then become the Purple Ranger is amazing. Fighting I guess you can tell.
Yeah.
No, it's good. See, your mom wasn't wrong. If they want you to be a superhero, they'll make you one.
Exactly. They will make it happen.
I wanted to piggyback off of what you said before about wanting to fight more. Was there anything else throughout this season that you would have liked to have done or liked to have seen or anything that maybe they cut?
That's a good question. I mean, for my character specifically, I feel like you didn't really get a lot of her backstory. Like everyone else had kind of these full, rich lives, and Kendall wasn't really a person. She was just sort of like there to give orders, and then eventually become this like scientist who occasionally gets out of the lab and wears purple. So I would have liked to see her developed a little bit more, but that's also like, that's a big ask. We had a 10-person team, you know, like they couldn't delve into everyone's story. So I kind of just did that work on my own. But aside from that, like not personally, but something that I would have liked to see just for the show in general. God, that's a good question. I mean, we didn't really get to do a lot of team ups. I think that like there are a lot of seasons that have like past Rangers come in and like, you know, a lot of like connecting it to Rangers from the past and things like that, which we didn't really get to do that much, which would have been really cool. But yeah, I mean, I guess aside from that, I was pretty pleased.
Something that I was wondering is how Kendall knew Keeper. I don't think that they ever explained that.
They never explained that, and I really would have liked them to. Because what is this happening on my face? Sorry, there's a hair on my face. Yeah, they never went into that, and they didn't explain it to us either. Like it wasn't just something that they cut out. It was never really part of the story at all. So, I mean, part of my personal preparation for the show was I like kept a journal as Kendall for like our pre-production stuff, and I would just write my own story of her. And when it became very clear that they were never going to explain that, I kind of just made up my own story. So the way that I saw it was that like when Kendall took over the museum, Keeper sort of like found her. Like I didn't really like, maybe I think that Kendall had been making these discoveries that sort of were leading to the Energems, and Keeper was hoping that she would maybe back off, but as soon as she got close, he was like, I think I got to step in here and explain what's going on. So Keeper presented himself, probably had to, you know, show Kendall some things about the world that broadened her horizons and maybe changed her perspective, because she's very scientific. I imagine she would think that, you know, alien monsters are not possible. But then as soon as, you know, people started coming in one by one and saying like, hey, look, I have this gem, she started to believe it. But that's just the story that I wrote. I don't really, they never really explained it. She just kind of like...
Well, kudos to you for making something out of nothing, basically.
Yeah. Thanks. Let's hope that's what Chip intended. I have no idea.
Well, shoot, let's go with that. What was your last day of filming like?
My last day of filming was very sad also. I keep saying the word sad to describe the end of the shooting process, but it just was. I have a video actually of like after they called picture wrap, and I will never forget it. They're like, that's a picture wrap on Claire. And I'm like walking across the lot and it's like starting to rain and I'm just like crying. A lot of tears also apparently for me. But yeah, it was really sad. It was, you know, really special also. I mean, that whole crew, they're basically all Kiwi. And they're just really wonderful people. You know, they've all worked on the show for years and years and years now. So they're just such a well-oiled machine, and they all are a family already. So coming into that, it's hard in a way at first because they all are familiar with each other, but they're so welcoming. I mean, just people from New Zealand in general are like absolutely lovely. So it was sad to say goodbye, but it was a very special experience and I will never forget it.
Now, I remember just going back a little bit, I remember you were saying that you would like to, you know, do if they had like a team up or anything like that, you wish they would have had something like that. I remember you were on a live chat and basically everybody was talking about getting invited back. Mm-hmm. And you were like, you didn't get invited back. Would that be something that you would like to do, or, you know?
Totally. I mean, if they ever asked me to come back for a team up, I would absolutely do it. But I just don't think it's going to happen. I'm just like not the kind of character they usually invite back. It's usually like a select few colors or, you know, a type of person. And I don't think I'm the type they would invite back. But if they did, I would totally go. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I was like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, wait a minute. Well, not saw that the live, but just like when they were just saying, "Oh, we're bringing back Dino Charge," like you were one of the characters. I was like, oh my gosh, like they have to bring back Kendall. Like they
Oh,
have to bring back
thank
Kendall.
you.
And then
Thanks.
I saw they were like the other guys, and I'm like, wait a minute, no Kendall? Like what?
Nope. No, they stick her in the lab and that's where she stays.
Right? She's just like, no, she has a museum to run. She ain't going
Yeah,
nowhere.
she's
Like,
well, a zoo now, if you're to,
well, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
Right.
right.
crazy.
Oh
Oh
my
boy.
Did you have any
gosh.
thoughts about that ending? Them bringing the dinosaurs back?
I mean, I thought it was interesting. Like, I think it was a very clever twist, because, makes sense. If you're going to go back and change the course of history, then naturally that's what's going to happen. So, so I think it was cool, and it definitely gives you like a lot to imagine and to consider. But yeah, I remember all of us at the table were kind of like, whoa, what? We're reading the script and we were like, a zoo. All right, cool, let's roll with it. But,
Wow. And I just find it so funny that like literally when that happened, they were just like, okay, so now that we know that this whole thing happened, we have to make it into its own separate universe now.
exactly.
It's like, okay, all right, we're just gonna roll with it. We're just gonna go with it.
I just want to ask, so like with regards to obviously with the ending and with it turning to a zoo, what do you think Kendall would be doing right now? Like what?
Oh my god, I think Kendall would be losing her mind. Like, for someone as type A as that, to like have her life all planned out, and like they already threw this random, ranger thing at her, and they're like, okay, run your museum, but also now you have to deal with like superheroes. She's like, okay, cool, let's do it. Like, but at least I've got my museum. At least this is what I studied, like I'm an archaeologist. Like I went to school for this. I've been planning my whole life for this. And then suddenly they're like, okay, you're an archaeologist, but like, what do you know about like zoology? And she's like, I'll learn. Like she's probably taking night classes right now. She's probably getting another PhD. She's probably like, I must do this. So I don't know. That's kind of my idea. Then again, she does say in the finale, like, someone says Miss Morgan, and she goes, call me Kendall. So maybe she's loosened up. I don't know. Maybe she's chill.
Right, because she was just like, nobody calls her by her first name. It's
Yeah,
like
until the
you
finale.
will call
She's
me
like,
Miss
you know
Morgan.
what? We saved the world. That's all good. I don't know. That can change a person, I guess. I wouldn't know.
Well, we're coming to the time in the interview where we have a special little game where we
Okay.
ask you, just to talk about, your co-stars. So we're just gonna bring up a little name, and whatever memory that pops up about that person, feel free to share it, no matter how embarrassing, whatever the first thing that comes up to mind. All right, so the first person we have is Brennan Mejia.
Brennan Mejia. Oh God. So many. I mean, like, I feel like everyone's story is just, whenever we're anywhere, like he does a handstand, no matter what. Like he hand balances on literally everything all the time. So I remember us being in the airport on the way home for Christmas, and like there's some little kid at the gate with us, and Brennan just like kind of walks over and starts like arm balancing and whatever, and like talking to the kid, and they're taking pictures together. Like he's just the sweetest guy, obviously, and he just wants to make people happy. So like this little kid finds out that he's a Power Ranger and is losing his mind, and like Brennan's just talking to him forever and like trying to tell him about how to do handstands. So that's one big memory. Also, what people don't know about Brennan is he is so funny and like has the weirdest dad jokes, but like he's really good at puns, and people used to get so mad at him for it, and I love them. I think they're so funny. Like he got upset, and it would just like come to him, and he just like toss this like pun at you, and everyone was like, Brennan, come on. I was like, I love it. I think it's brilliant. Do this forever.
I love it. Love it. Camille Hyde.
Oh, Camille. So she and I lived together the whole time. And
Oh, wow. Okay.
my favorite memory with her is we had this car, like only for the last few months of filming. But there was this one weekend where we were like, we just got to get out. We got to do it. I think we maybe had like one extra day of the weekend or something. And we just went for it. And we took the car up to Bay of Islands, which is like at the top of the North Island of New Zealand, and stayed there for a night in like a hostel and just explored the island. And it was really amazing. And then on the way back, we were like, we should just find some place to like sleep in the car for the night. So we found this random spot. We didn't even really plan it. We kind of just came across it. And it just, you know, we pulled into this campsite. We were in this little station wagon, and we like put the seats down in the back and just like slept under the stars. And little did we know that it was at this like private beach. Not private, like privately owned. It was just a very small, you know, it's New Zealand. So there are all these random, you know, unexplored places. And this just happened to be one of them. And it happened to be Earth Day as well. So we just like sat on this beach in the middle of nowhere and like watched the sunset and then slept under the stars in our car eating gummy worms. And it was like just a beautiful, beautiful time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
It was very special. So
Yoshi Sudarso.
Yoshi. I love Yoshi so much. I feel like a lot of my memories with him now are just like after Power Rangers, like doing stunt training back in LA and stuff. But in LA specifically, I will never forget when we had the creator of the Super Sentai series come visit set, and it was a big surprise. Nobody knew he was coming. And when Chip told us that he was going to be there, Yoshi cried. So I'm not the only one that cries, by the way. So Yoshi cried. And because he's like the biggest fan of the entire franchise. You know, he's watched every episode of Super Sentai, every episode of Power Rangers, like all numerous times. He knows, like, if you ask that guy for any detail on any episode, like he can give it to you, no question. So he's a huge, huge, huge fan. He always has been. And so the creator of Super Sentai came, and we were all sitting in the lunch tent, and this guy walks in, and Yoshi's just like, you know, so excited, and he does the Japanese morph for the guy, like because he already knew it. So he takes out his Dino blaster, and he does like the whole Japanese morph in Japanese, like saying the Japanese words, doing like the whole extended thing, and like, you know, the guy was super impressed, and it was just like the best day of Yoshi's life so far. And then he went back to eating like 5 plates of food.
Wow. I probably would have pissed myself. I'm not.
He nearly did.
Michael Tabor.
Oh my God. He is so fun. So when we were filming, he was 20. So he was the baby of the group, and he was known for like staying in his room a lot, and not like he wouldn't really like come out and socialize that often. He kind of just like kept to himself. He's like a little homebody. You'd never know it because he's like, you know, the funny prankster, but he's like, you know, what like I think about with Michael all the time is the fact that like he has these two vastly different personalities, where like on set he's the prankster, and he was always like putting props where they shouldn't be just to drive the prop manager insane. And you're like, Michael, don't do that. It was so mean. So he was like playing all these practical jokes all the time, but then he's secretly like this very sensitive guy who's like really quiet and reserved at home, and we would have these long, deep conversations all the time. And I just, you know, whenever I think about Michael, I think of like, you know, him coming out of his room and like making the peanut butter sandwich and like going back to his room. I just knock on his door to be like, Michael, what's up, buddy? But yeah, he's great. I actually just came across these old videos in quarantine. I've been like, you know, looking back over all these old things, and like the laptop that I have, the very first videos and pictures I have are from like right before New Zealand, and then most of it is from New Zealand. And I found all these great videos of Michael and me. And like one of them is from this one episode towards the end of the second season where we get like pies in our face or something. And so I have this video of Michael and me offset with whipped cream all over our faces from the pies. And I go, Michael, how do you feel? And he goes, pretty whipped.
Oh,
Wow.
I sent that to him last week and he was like, what is this?
oh.
I love it. Wow. James Davies.
James Davies. Oh my God. What? I'm trying to think of like the number one. I think what I remember the most about James is him trying to learn how to skateboard in the beginning, and just like being, because his character had to skateboard, and he was like, I don't know how to do this, and he had a skateboard and stunt double and everything, and he would like have these practice sessions with his stunt double, whose name was Josh, and he's great. And this was like a Kiwi guy who's like a really good skateboarder, and they like brought him in to help out. And I remember James like having these sessions with him and like just being so good natured about the whole thing. Like he'd be in the ranger house that we all lived in first season, and like practicing these tricks and being like, I don't know. He just kind of like laugh it off, which I thought was so charming, because like a lot of people, myself included, when you try to do something new and you can't get it, you just get all frustrated and you're all mad. And he was really like, he applied himself really hard, and like when he figured out something new, he was very excited, but it wouldn't make him insane if it was taking him a while, which I always thought was really really admirable.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's one thing I didn't know. I thought he knew how to do it. He played it off pretty well.
He had to learn. He really did, and he got a lot better as the seasons went on too. So
wow,
that's great as well. Yeah.
Huh. Impressed.
Yes. But look up Josh Gemmell. That's the skateboarding stunt double. Fantastic skater, Kiwi guy. Look him up.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Write that down. Okay. I'm gonna look him up. And lastly, Davi Santos.
Oh my God, Davi. What? I have to like sift through. There's so many with Davi. I mean, like we went to the hot pools together one time, which was great. He and I, one of my favorite episodes was when we were dressed up as, like, I was dressed as a Three Musketeer and he was dressed as Scarecrow for the Halloween episode, and we spoke in Shakespearean accents the entire time. Like we just fully went into iambic pentameter and like just heightened our voices. That was great. But my favorite, probably similar to like my memory with Camille, is he and I took a long weekend and went down to Hawke's Bay in the south of the North Island. And we just had this like fantastic weekend there, climbing mountains and taking pictures and looking at all the Art Deco architecture and wine tasting. And it was just a really great time. And that guy is so smart and inquisitive. He's just really intelligent and like just cultured and fascinating. So I always had a lot of great conversations with him, and he's a very special guy. So, yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of our Ranger game. You have such an incredible voice. Like, it's
Thank you.
So beautiful. Have you ever considered like pursuing a music career?
I have considered it. I get very nervous when I think about it. A lot of my close friends in LA are musicians, which you'd think would be encouraging, but it kind of like puts me off of it, because I'm like, God, they're so great. Like, what do I really have to offer that's anything new, you know? But I mean, I do sing a lot. I do a lot of musical theater in LA. So I've done like live performances in LA the past year specifically. I spent like 7 months a couple years ago doing a rock musical on a cruise ship, so that was really fun. So I sing in that way fairly often. I've recorded like a couple of my own songs, but I have yet to show them to the world, just because like, I don't know, it just makes me nervous. And I feel like every time I start to go down that path, something intervenes. Like the first time I recorded a song, I think like I booked a show right after that, or, you know, second time I ended up going away for a while, or I don't know. And also, let's just be honest, most of it's just because I'm nervous to do it. It's a scary world. Like, acting's a scary world, and they're both just very like, I don't know, intimidating and difficult. So I love music, but I have yet to like really, really go after it, because I have so many friends that are so good at it, and I'm like, I can't measure up to you guys. Are you kidding? So, you know,
you can't compare yourself to anybody.
See,
and you've already done the acting thing, so like you could do this too.
Would be fun. Maybe someday. We'll see. I'll get after it.
Well, follow-up question to that, actually. If you could collaborate with any artist, who would you want to collaborate with?
Oh my God, that's so hard. That's so hard. Like musical artist?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's so difficult.
Really?
I mean, there's so many that I really, really respect. That I just don't think that I like could collaborate with because like I lack the like musical know-how, but like people that I admire the most, that I listen to the most right now, I love Donna Missile, Matt Corby, Hiatus Coyote, Lawrence the band, they're great. Just I mean, and then like any musician from the past, my goodness gracious, like you know, any of the jazz greats, like come on, Charlie Parker, Bud Powell, like let me get at it. Or Heart. Oh my God. If I could just like sing a Heart song in front of that band, I would lose my mind. So, I don't know. That's not really an answer to your question, I guess. That's like way too many.
It's amazing to see how passionate you are about it. So you definitely pursue this music career. What's holding you back? You're getting here.
Thanks.
Okay, you have all these greats. I'm like, girl, go ahead and get on the stage.
Right? My God. I'm leading up to our next question because you mentioned that you've been doing theater for the past 7 months, right? For you, what would you prefer? Like, would you prefer to be on stage? I'll call it theater. Wow, on stage or on set?
That's a really tough one. I mean, they're both so different. I would say, like, as an actor, I find it more. I find it more interesting and invigorating to be on a stage, like solely from an actor's perspective, because I mean, also just because you have more control over that kind of environment. Like when you act on a set, the final product that people see is more a result of the direction and the editing and the lighting than anything else. You can feel like you did your best work, but they choose your worst take, and that's just not really up to you. Plus on a set, there's a lot of like hurry up and wait. I mean, people hear that all the time, but it's, you know, you just kind of like, you have to be ready to go at an instant, but you're sitting around waiting for that moment pretty much all day. But the rub is that like film and TV often pay a lot better than theater. Theater is like, it's harder to make a living that way. But, you know, one of the best parts about being on a set also is that there is a lot that goes into it that since you're sitting around and waiting a lot, you can just watch and learn. And it's fascinating. You know, like I knew nothing about any part of that world before Power Rangers, and just like sitting there and watching them call out different names of lights or like sizes of lens. It's just, there's so much detail involved in it. That's really, really, really interesting. So, you know, like from a production perspective, it's just fascinating. But as an actor, I would say like, I'll do either happily, but, you know, like happily, but I'd say theater is more like thrilling.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. What would be your ideal career combining all of your crazy, amazing talents that you've got?
Oh God.
And that like, obviously like you get paid and like, you know,
yeah.
Do it like.
I just like to be a professional Renaissance woman. You know what I mean? Like just spend my days like playing piano, going to a theater, going to a set, singing a song, writing some poetry, like reading a book. That's the dream, really.
Amazing. This one is totally like, this is okay. Because I've been following your Insta and I love it when you are a fake influencer. Would you ever consider creating a YouTube channel series on just that? I would. Oh
my God.
Like they are so amazing. And they're so convincing. Like I remember at one point I was watching it thinking, wait, is she for real? Like I don't recall it sounding like this ever. But then obviously as time went on, I'm like, oh shit, this is amazing. I'm here for this.
I'm thrilled to hear you say that. I always feel like either people think I'm being serious or they are like, shut up, what are you doing? It's mostly just to entertain myself because I don't know. It started as a whole thing where like I got back from the cruise ship that I was working on in like 2018, and I saw a lot of people posting the sentence "so excited to announce," and I was like, no one cares, man. Like, so I just was like, super excited to announce. Plus, we all know that person. We've all seen that person, like, the voice. Like, so like, I'm like organic, vegan, all natural. Like, I only do yoga, but anyway. I mean, it'd be very fun. I hadn't really considered making a channel of it before because I figured that it's like an oversaturated market, and that's like not a very original character. But hey, maybe.
Well, I think it's not. You're right, but I think it's because the fact that you're not taking it seriously is what makes it more funny. And like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I will literally wait by my phone and be like, "Oh my gosh, she update. Let's see if it's like an today."
Well, now that I know this, you've given me many ideas.
So I went through the whole thing, and I'm like, "Okay, next one. Next. Oh, it's done. What do you mean?"
Brilliant.
There's
more to come.
So it's amazing. If you do, we would definitely try to get everyone to follow that.
Yes,
we're here for it. It's amazing.
Awesome.
So recently, actually, I was just on the laptop today, and I came across your new trailer. Well, I guess not so new anymore. Her Worst Nightmare. Could you actually tell us a little bit more of your film? It looks. I'm very interested in it. It looks interesting.
Yeah.
Where can we find it? What was your experience like? The works.
Totally. Yeah. So I filmed that a couple years ago in Kentucky, and it aired, I guess, a couple years ago. And it was on Lifetime. Might still be. I don't know. Probably actually, because I get people telling me sometimes they saw it. But yeah, it's I'm sure you can find it some places if it was on Lifetime. I bet. And it was a very difficult experience. Honestly, it was really, really fun and very educational. And again, I mean, the crew was amazing. They're all just like really assiduous, wonderful, hardworking people. But it was challenging because I played the victim of kidnapping, and I had been released from like several years of being held in a basement and had severe PTSD. And then I started going to college to try to be a normal, girl again. And then I discovered that a copycat is now stalking me and trying to carry out the same agenda that my first kidnapper did. So it was really intense. And since it was, like a low budget film or lower budget film, it was very, very fast. So, and I was in every scene. So it was, 12-hour days, 6 days a week. I got one day off, but I was living in this like haunted hotel in Louisville, Kentucky. And like, so I would wake up at like 6, I would go for a run or go to the gym, I'd shower, I'd get ready, I'd go to set for 12 hours, I'd come home, I'd pass out, and then I'd just do it all again the next day. And, every scene was me like looking over my shoulder. Like it wasn't just fun and games laughing on set. It was like terrifying, like who's following me kind of stuff, like all day, every day. So it was, it's really intense. But the fun part of that, that relates to Power Rangers actually, is that since I had so much fight training, they had a couple scenes where I was supposed to fight this like assailant. And I had to like stop it at one point and be like, all right, guys, let's talk about this for a second. This fight isn't believable. Like, where's the camera angle? Let's put some pads on this guy. Am I doing a shoulder roll or a barrel roll? Let's talk about this. And they were like, whoa. Like, she's a Power Ranger. Like, you better believe it. And then after we shot that scene, the director pulled me aside one day and was like, hey, so we were looking back over the footage from that fight scene, and it's a little too believable. So would you be down to film like a training montage that we can just like intercut into the scene, into the movie, like throughout, to make it more believable that you end up kicking this guy's ass? And I was like, yeah, totally, let's do it. So it's really fun. That part of it was great, but yeah, I mean, it was really an interesting experience. And the script was really cool too, because it's about this girl who like conquers all odds, and she's like a badass, and it was written by a woman as well, so it's like a female written script, female acted. So it was
Amazing.
It was cool. Yeah, it was really, 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 really interesting. Yeah.
Wow, no, that's amazing. Thank you. No, I saw it this morning and went, oh shoot, that looks like a
very different.
Very different from Power Rangers. So
Totally.
I personally will look forward to watching it.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Right. So you mentioned your reader, which I thought that's so weird because like I, for some strange reason, just thought I wanted to ask you this. Is there any favorite books that you could recommend us to read while we're in self-isolation and quarantine?
Yeah, totally. Okay. I mean, I read a lot of like classics, but the ones that are a little more contemporary, Transatlantic by Colin McCann is beautiful. He just released a new book as well that I have yet to read. It's waiting for me at home. So I was going to read it and then I got stuck in Idaho. So, but that one's great. So that's Transatlantic. Where the Crawdads Sing is beautiful. And I'm reading this book right now called Idaho, which is very sad, but it's very good. It's also a novel. I read mostly novels. Yeah, those are the ones that are springing to mind right now. I mean, one of my favorite books of all time is Picture of Dorian Gray. It's great. I'm such a sucker for Steinbeck. East of Eden is beautiful. Grapes of Wrath. If you haven't read those two, then definitely. Yeah, Goldfinch by Donna Tartt was just made into a movie. It's good. So if you want to like see the movie and know what it's all about beforehand, then like read the book too. I don't know. I guess that's a handful, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, this will brings us down to the lightning round. It's not as fast as it sounds. So I'm just gonna ask you serious questions and take your time answering it. The first question is, if you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh God, that's so hard.
And it could be
William Shakespeare. That's like a cop out, but it's, I gotta do it. Shakespeare, definitely. Honestly, maybe Oscar Wilde. They're all writers. Man, I should do a musician as well. Maybe Ella Fitzgerald too. Yeah.
You can ask as many as you want. It doesn't have to be 3.
Don't give me that option. I'll just keep going. Nobody wants that.
All right. If you could have one superpower, and you can certainly make one up, what would it be?
Flight. Easily. I'd want to fly. Definitely. Yeah.
That's kind of power. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you want to live? And bonus, your entire family and all your loved ones can be with you.
New Zealand. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. I mean, my God. Yes.
What is your current favorite TV series or movie, if you do watch any at the moment?
I do now. I do watch TV now, actually. Big step. I haven't been watching that much in isolation, honestly. I've mostly been reading. Gosh, favorite. I love Veep. I know it's old, but I love it. Or not older, I guess. Silicon Valley is also hilarious. Orphan Black, also older, but it's so good. Tatiana Maslany or however you say it, is amazing. She's so good. Let's see, what else? Ozark is amazing. There's a show on Netflix called Dark, I think. And it's subtitled, but and it's kind of like a German Stranger Things. It's really good, though. Very, very good.
So true.
Yeah, so that's great. Movie-wise, the new Ben Affleck movie, The Way Back. It's kind of like a tried and true, like guy down on his luck, comes a basketball coach, but my friend is in it, and it's awesome. And he's great in it, so check him out.
Nice.
And what else? I just watched Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood for the first time, and it was like, I wept.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
I just wept. Yeah.
I love that movie so much.
It was so beautiful. I like that a lot. I don't know. I just did this whole like challenge on Facebook or something that a friend of mine had me do. It was like, your 15 favorite movies, and I was like, okay, Good Will Hunting, Life is Beautiful, just like all the like Chinatown, the things that everybody says. But I guess I don't know. That's another handful for you.
Oh, that's good. Are you a tea or a coffee person?
Oh, do I have to choose?
No.
Oh God, I love both. I've gone through so many times in my life where I've given up coffee because I feel like I have to, but then I always go back to it. That sweet, sweet, seductive little thing. But I do love tea also. I love it.
Okay, now with your tea, do you do it without sugar or with?
I do it without. There's this tea that I am obsessed with.
Interesting.
It's just the Good Earth sweet and spicy tea, and it's like it's so good. It's so good, and you don't even need anything in it. It's like really herbal. It's like gingery, kind of chai, a little bit of citrus, like a lot of spice. It's just very like earthy and like just it's like Christmas. That's awesome.
Wow, I love that description. That I have to use that from now on. It's like Christmas.
Christmas.
Love it.
Oh my God. Now, my next question is, if you could be one age forever, what age would you be? But I'm talking like your body will be frozen in that like age, like let's say 17, but your mind can still develop, grow, and like expand and absorb more.
Oh wow, that's really hard, honestly. That's really hard. Like I'd probably want it to be like the oldest that I could still feel young, you know what I mean? Like young enough that I can still run 1,000,000 miles or climb really tall mountains or like, throw punches and stuff. But I wouldn't want to look like a teenager forever, because I feel like as much as we try not to, like, you just don't take younger people as seriously. Not like you collectively or like just the world in general. I feel like, whenever, like when I was bartending, for example, I started bartending when I was like 22, and people constantly were like, "Oh, are you even old enough to be back there?" And I was like, "Okay." And that's always just frustrating. Nobody wants to be belittled or talked down to. So I don't know, maybe like late 20s.
Okay. No, I can totally relate with that. I'm in my 30s and I constantly get, so when are you going to finish high school? I'm like,
you're like, I did that. Stop.
No, seriously. Like
Never
when
want
I first
either.
Okay. Like when I first got my my job at my current place, well, not current because I'm not working, but like the last job I was at, it was crazy because like when I first stepped in, they literally were like, so did you just get out of high school and came here? I'm like, I've been out of high school for going on 10 years. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I have a master's degree. What are you talking about?
Okay.
I was like, what?
Masters? That's what's up.
Yeah.
What's your master's in?
Actually, theater.
Heck yeah. Can I swear in here? I don't even know.
It's fine.
No, you're certainly good. We invited, if anything.
Okay.
Bless.
What would you want your legacy to be?
Oh my goodness. That's really hard. Wow. I feel like my epitaph would just be like, if I had it my way, would be like several paragraphs. I'd want them to be like, here lies Claire. Well, I also don't really want to be buried, I don't think, but that's dark. So box, like, burn me, scatter my ashes. Anyway, to anyone listening, I don't know. Probably like, I want to be remembered as a very talented but smart performer, and very kind and generous, who left behind a lovely family and an impressive body of work and philanthropic endeavors. I don't know.
That's good. Really good.
Do you have any other upcoming projects or anything you want to let anybody know about?
Upcoming projects, that's tough. I mean, who's to say right now, honestly? I think the hardest part about all of this for the industry is that, like, with performance, you can't really do anything if you can't get together. You can't gather, you can't really create. So, I mean, I've been doing my best. I do a lot of play readings. Like, a lot of them just for fun, like with my friends, we get on Zoom and we do play readings. But I'm going to be doing one probably, I think, in the next few weeks that's going to be live streamed. So
Nice.
That's cool. So I will keep you posted via the internet regarding that. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, it's hard to say, you know, I mean, I wish I could be like, yeah, next month I'll be in this play, or like, yeah, I'm going to be filming this thing, but who knows what the industry's going to look like. Fingers crossed that it'll revive itself soon. But
hopefully,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all over it.
And lastly, where can everybody find you?
Where can
On the internet, that is. Like, not your address.
Hello out there. Weird. I am on Instagram at Clay Blackwelder, which is CLAI, black like the color, welder like the occupation. And then Facebook is just Claire Blackwelder official, I think is after it. I'm pretty sure. Yoshi made it for me years ago. And then Twitter, I don't really use it ever, but you can find me on it if you want. And it's Clairedactyl. It's misspelled, which like really drives me crazy, but the real one was already taken, so it's I had to do what I had to do. So it's Claire, CLAIREDACTYL, and I know that the real thing should be O, but anyway. So yeah, that's that. But I'm on Instagram and most, so Clay Blackwelder is the best place to find me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we really appreciate you coming on the show today. It was so much fun talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, this has been another episode of Tribunal of the Grid. My name is Brandon.
I am Lena.
And Will.
And we will talk to y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.